Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So earnings on the radar video coming on a Monday, typically on a Friday, but a little bit of a delay getting this to today. So obviously missing the Monday morning um, earnings names, but there weren't too many big companies reported, so really didn't miss a whole ton. Just like a quick note about the pricing of some of these straddles. It might be like slightly more or less just based off of when I marked down all of like the premiums. So um, setups pretty much still stand. The pricing might be a tiny bit off just based off of when I got all this together. But for the most part, you get the idea. All right. So after the close on Monday, desktop metal. So that's today. About $1.50, give or take, is what they're looking for. It's definitely been a mixed reporting season for 3D names. SSYS was up a bunch. Triple D got whacked. So it's going to be interesting to see what DM has to say. It has been working on a breakout of this lower range, but obviously it's been kind of stuck around the 100-day for the last 2 weeks. So I feel like this earnings is going to be important to see if it can really like bust out of like that lower trend. Um, this type of setup to me is more interesting on a longer term perspective though, because if it really does start to, if the numbers are good and it really does start to break the trend, you can see there's a lot of potential on the upside. So I mean, less of like an earnings play and probably something I look at after the report. Um, Also tonight, Lucid. So I mean, they're priced in about 6.25. I mean, the stock is parabolic or has been parabolic for the last 2.5 weeks. They only just recently started deliveries though, so it's kind of tough to say whether earnings will really be eventful for the stock because I mean, really the revenues are probably just going to be minuscule. It's been on fire though, and I mean it's had some really big daily moves, so the option pricing doesn't seem like too out of whack. Might be able to make You might be able to see like a bigger move than that over like this week long stretch, even if earnings aren't too eventful themselves. Before they open on Tuesday, some big ones. So Home Depot pricing in about 13 or so. Mr. Consistency when it comes to solid reports, but what's also really consistent is that it closes red even with solid reports. It's like good or bad, it just tends to sell off on earnings. So, I mean, after the recent run it's had, I guess I'd be slightly more cautious. And I do acknowledge that it does look like a pretty good bull setup with like a, big run, flat base, but I mean, just has this really consistent history of selling off on earnings. So it's kind of tough to go against that. Those reports later in the week, and Home Depot should move that um, as well. So could be looking at both. I mean, it's gonna be a big week for the home improvement stores. Walmart, big name. Pricing about 5.25. I think it's an interesting one. Last quarter was solid, but the stock didn't really have a very big move. It's back at this big year-long resistance range, right? So I mean, a lot of retailers have had some impact from the supply chain. Um, if Walmart can deliver, I mean, there's a lot of potential, right? I mean, a pent-up breakout through 12-month resistance could be pretty substantial. Um, it's just, we've gotta wait and see what the numbers are because a failure at this level could really like knock it back down into like the lows 140s again. So I feel like it's tempting to play a bull idea, but I mean I also think that the option pricing does maybe leave a little bit of room for a volatility strategy. Also, ON tomorrow before the open. So new issue came out pretty high valuation, rolled over, came back, right? So this is going to be their first report as a public company. They really need to deliver. The valuation is high here, but it's back underneath its IPO high. It's been acting a little bit better. I don't know what their supply chain issues are going to be, if any, but it's been a mover since it first came out. And, I mean, I guess it wouldn't surprise me to see a decent sized move, especially potentially a little bit more than 3.5. The option pricing doesn't seem too bad on that. After the bell on Tuesday, really nothing of interest. Before the open on Wednesday, a few Chinese tech names. Actually, it's a really big week for Chinese tech. Baidu's pricing in about 11. Um, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Some of the Chinese tech names do look like they're trying to like turn the corner after like a recent pullback. Um, I guess I'm more wait and see on some of them. I'll talk about Bob and JD in a couple minutes, but I'm more wait and see on a lot of Chinese tech, just because I feel like the action hasn't been as consistent. Still a lot of headline risk. Maybe look at like post earnings, like swing trades, or like just post earnings day trades if things are moving around. Because you also have BILI reporting Wednesday before the open. Well, so I mean, there's a lot of Chinese tech names reporting this week. Lows. So about 12 points is what's priced in here. Home Depot dumped on earnings last quarter, but then Lowe's absolutely ripped. That was this move. So the dump on Home Depot is in the rip after. So I mean, these two can definitely move in opposite directions. They've demonstrated that over the past that they don't necessarily move the exact same way. But Home Depot reports first, so it's going to impact Lowe's, right? Lowe's is definitely the more volatile of the two, so we're going to have to see where it is going into its report because it might be like a go opposite direction type play if it's up a lot or down a lot on Home Depot. Target. Pricing about 14.5. Walmart's probably going to set the tone for Target, but they don't always like overlap. Target was hit last quarter. It could be a volatile name in reports, so this one's interesting. Option pricing isn't cheap, but if I can get risk down, I might look at something speculative, maybe like a volatility strategy. TJX, so about 3 points is what's priced in. This and Ross Stores report next week. Burlington doesn't. Or report this week, excuse me. Burlington doesn't, so seems to set up a sympathy play in my book. Burlington options can be pretty thin though, so it's not the easiest one to trade, but that would be like the way I would probably approach TJX and Ross Stores. After the close on Wednesday, Nvidia, big name, about 21.5 points was priced in. And again, just remind you guys, this is like as of like Friday, so some of these prices might be a little bit different, but you get the point. I don't really know what to make of it because the stock has gone parabolic for basically no real reason, and I have to imagine the bar is very, 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 very high going into earnings this quarter. Option pricing's elevated too. So it seems like a very tough setup for me. Maybe AMD moves off of it, or maybe you could even look just at like SMH or Soxel, but I don't think it would be an Nvidia options. Cisco pricing about 3 points. It hasn't been as big of a mover recently on earnings, but option pricing isn't too bad this quarter. It's kind of like a toss-up pattern, right? Like maybe if it's surprisingly good or surprisingly bad, you get a big move, but it does seem like there's more of like a greater chance that it's a mixed report. Sonos, pricing about 4.5. Last couple quarters been solid. Stock as well if it's high though. Maybe more of like a speculative bull idea, but maybe if they deliver, it can like snap back up into like the high 30s, like 40 area, get back into where it was after earnings last quarter. It was like up here. All right, Thursday before the open, so Baba, priced in about 11. A couple big Chinese e-com reports. So this and JD are both before the open. JD's pricing in 6. JD definitely acts better than Baba, but I guess with both of them reporting, my thinking was that maybe PDD could be a sympathy play, right? I mean, Baba maybe has more potential, JDX better, but interestingly, PDD doesn't report. So, I mean, as the third e-commerce name, maybe it could be a decent sympathy play if both Baba and JD are good or both Baba and JD are bad. After the close on Thursday, big tech night. So AMAT pricing in about 8. Just broke out of a long range, acting great ahead of earnings. There were some solid semi-equipment reports this quarter, and last quarter was actually pretty solid for AMAT too. So this could be one that maybe still has some more room to the upside. I guess the biggest issue is if it just keeps running into earnings, might be an increasingly high bar. So might be one where I look at. Might look for maybe like a tick up ahead of time, or if it doesn't move, then maybe that still leaves some opportunity there. INTU, about 25 points was priced in. There's a few big software stocks Thursday night. It's in a solid trend, right at its highs. It kind of falls more into the trending trade category to me. Typically, these types of setups, I expect lower volatility, so either be like an avoid or maybe like a calendar spread or a fly type idea. Palo Alto, pricing in about 40, so would not surprise me to see this catch a bit into earnings this week. It's already starting to move that direction. Had a strong beat and raise. Stock ripped last quarter. That's what it was. This cybersecurity names continue to be hot. This is a top name, so I'll have to wait and see where it is going in its report, because if it does run, I mean, it may remove some of the upside in the actual release. Workday, so about 18.5 points is what's priced in. Had a solid beat back in August. Stock pop continues to grind higher. We were focused on this when it broke through this high back here, and it's continued just to keep grinding up. So option pricing to me maybe seems a little bit high this quarter, just because it doesn't always respond great to earnings. So I might avoid this and then maybe look for like a swing trade opportunity after. And then I was saying like raw stores, which TJX and raw stores report, Burlington doesn't, so Burlington might be a sympathy play type idea. And then lastly, Friday before the open, Foot Locker, pricing about 4.5 points. Hasn't been as volatile as it once was on earnings, but athletic apparel is still a pretty hot area. Last quarter wasn't bad. It was this pop. Yeah, maybe it has some potential. Right? If it's surprisingly good or surprisingly bad, it'll be more of like a game time decision for me Friday. Because right now I'm on the fence with it, just because I haven't traded it in a long time. But see how the week goes and see if if things are really flying around in earnings. Maybe I'll take a shot. All right. So yeah, lots of big names. I mean, we're kind of like the retail portion of earnings, but there's actually a few like heavy hitter tech names this week as well. So I think that there should be plenty going on. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, or all these sympathy trades, which I'm always talking about, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a great night, stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.